Hey everybody, it's Angela. I just wanted to share with you this little mini album I'm doing on a dollhouse that I've been building. It's actually a cabinet that I've converted into rooms to display my miniatures collection, so it's kind of a dollhouse cabinet. But I made this mini album on some of the progress I've been making, and it's actually a Sarah Surfaces album, 6x6 album from hot off the press. And I've got a metal key and some 5 ribbons on the outside. I've got a little book plate. And then this first page is just my title page. It says Create, it has a definition, making a dollhouse cabinet. And then I have a memo tag, a little heart clip here, just journaling how I got started on the whole process. And here was the cabinet I got off Craigslist, and I had to take some things apart on it, and then I started adding this molding here so I could put in an upper floor to divide this out into 6 rooms. And I've got a little plastic tab that I put some word fragments on and some ribbon. Here I started painting out the cabinet white. Got my first coat on there, and I've got some chipboard pieces, some dimensional stickers. And then here I've put the floors in, and I'm kind of dry fitting some wallpaper and some wood strips that I use for the flooring. Got another information tag, some ribbon. And here again, I'm working on the wallpaper and getting that all fit. And I've got some fibers and dimensional stickers. And this transparency was, there's supposed to be like window cutouts for a dollhouse kit that I had, but the dollhouse just wasn't going to be big enough for all the miniatures I had, so I just wound up using pieces of the kit to assemble my cabinet. And so this was just left over, so I went ahead and stuck it in here, the window element. I've got some silk flowers, a paper flower, fuzzy brad. And then the kitchen, this is showing my big purchase, was a metal stove. Most of the other small miniatures I already had from when I was younger. And like I've had the pots and pans for a long time, and I found this little table at Goodwill. And then here's the strips of wood I started putting down for the floor. And this paper here is the actual wallpaper I used in the room. And it's digital scrapbooking paper from Scrap Girls. And then this handmade paper, it's kind of crinkly. I used that on the ceiling in this room to make it look more like a textured plaster ceiling. So there's the room coming together. I've got another metal clip, some teaspoons, some flowers. And then here I'm starting to fill it out, starting to put more of the miniatures in to the kitchen. And then I made this dining room table. I made this one first, but I didn't like it. So then I made the second one using a wooden plaque and part of a candlestick holder that I cut in half. And this is the actual wallpaper that I used in the room. Again, it's another paper from scrapgirls.com. And I put this strip to kind of give it a wainscoting look in this room. And then I have the floor all put in and varnished. Oops, nothing on that page. And then my big purchase for the living room area was this suite. It was just too intricate for me to make myself, but I did make the mantle and put in all the wood floors and painted the cabinet. And this is just kind of another picture of that room. Got some felt flower and some paper flowers on there. In the bathroom, here's a strip of the actual wood that I used for the floor. And this paper here in the background is the wallpaper that I used in that room. Here's another picture of it as I'm getting more things put in. I had this little clock on the back wall that I took a wristwatch apart and used that for the face of it. And I've just got a die cut tag and some brads. Here's the child's bedroom, and again, some wallpaper that I printed out from scrapgirls.com. I've got a beautiful metal tag here, some silk flowers, and this is the actual wallpaper I used just on one wall, the back wall, and then I used a textured white paper with a border with these same flowers on it on the other two walls. And then here's the rug I made also using those same flowers. I used to iron on transfer paper and ironed it onto a scrap of fabric. And I've got some arrow brads and a metal heart clip. Nothing on that page. And in the master bedroom, this is the actual wallpaper that I used, and I made the bed and the quilt and this storage trunk. And then I talked and did another section more about how I made the custom items. I made this grandfather clock out of molding. I embossed some metal. This one actually I didn't like, so I wound up making it again and using this one here in the scrapbook. I took apart like an old earring, and to use as the pendulum, and I've got some metal clock hands on this page. And here's some of this was plastic bricks that you get for when you make those miniature Christmas villages that they have like at Michael's or something during Christmas time. And so I was able to get a little roll of this, and I used it for the back and the hearth on the fireplace. And in the kitchen, I made some Fimo food, loaf of bread, some chocolate chip cookies, and here's like some of the scrapbook charms, like the spatula are a good size for the Dollhouse scale-wise, so that's a scrapbook spatula there. And then these gingerbread cookies are actually cut out using this little guy. I don't know if you can see him. And it was included in a bag of like themed buttons at Michael's, and they were like Christmas buttons, and they had these little guys in there too, and I thought, wow, that looks like a cookie cutter. So I went ahead and used it and actually made some gingerbread cookies out of it. Here's some of the cakes and pies that I've made, and just have a tag up on some foam tape with a silk flower behind it. Here I talk more about the rug that I made for the child's bedroom, and this was the actual pattern I used, and these are all flowers and stuff off of Scrap Girls. And I just ironed it on and used some hem tape and made a little rug so it would match the wallpaper. Here's a shaker box of beads, and I've used a lot of beads in the Dollhouse, and one example is for these perfume bottles. And I've just got them inside of a slide mount covered with paper, and got a dimensional journal tag there. Some more windows from that Dollhouse kit. And then I took some metal and hand embossed it. And this was a little leftover scrap of it. And I embossed it and painted it white, and that's what I used in the living room for the ceiling, so it would give it a punch tin or embossed tin ceiling look in that room. And for the chandelier, I just used beads, and I put them on some wire and shaped it into a chandelier, and I just got a silk flower folded in half, and then some bling to kind of mimic the bling on the chandelier. And then this was the quilt. This was the leftover piece of the quilt that I made for the bed. And you can see my squares, they don't match up at all. But it was so hard. I'm sure there's got to be an easier way to do this, but I haven't found it yet. So if anybody has ideas about making patchwork quilts that size, let me know. And then that storage trunk, I made out of small pieces of wood that I glued up, and then I covered it with some paper, put some metal decorative corners on it with some leather and some brads for handles. And then I made the little drawers and used beads for the handles, and took some wire and formed it for the hangers, and that made the steamer trunk on there. And then the back, I've just got, again, another paper from Scrap Girls, and this is the paper that I used for the living room walls to give it kind of that old library feeling. So that's my mini album, and my dollhouse is where it's got to at this point, and so I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.